Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Gruber Wired Hour. My name is John Dotson,
And I'm Janie Herndon.
and today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Rodney Norman. And how you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Oh, you're welcome. Very welcome.
Wonderful.
Really quick, I want to give a quick shout out to my parents. It's their 50th anniversary today. So 50 years, and they've been going strong. So love you, Mom and Dad.
Yay! Congratulations. That's
Wow,
awesome.
Congratulations.
That's very big.
So, Rodney, welcome for joining us. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome once again. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you come from, and kind of give us some logistics about who you are.
All right. I'm just some knucklehead that started making videos and people thought they were interesting and liked them. And because a lot of people like me, all of a sudden I'm important. So I'm digging it. I'm digging this whole thing. No, I'm a stand-up comedian for many years. Got a degree in philosophy because, why not?
Yeah.
Why not get a degree in philosophy?
So,
That's what I'm saying.
where'd you get a degree from?
But no, I just have a wonderful time, just making silly videos, making life a little bit easier for people.
Nice. Very cool. Now,
That's what I'm all about.
we were speaking a little bit as we were coming on before the show about Wise Guys, and you had a hand in helping that comedy club come around.
Oh yes, yes. My friend Keith Stubbs and we were both running comedy shows on opposite ends of town in Salt Lake, and decided we should just open a real club. And so we found what had been an abandoned church in a strip mall, and we thought, hey, God couldn't make it work, but we'll give it a shot. And we put a comedy club together, and now he's got 5 locations in Utah and Vegas, and I think he just celebrated 23 years.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
So
Nice.
that's going great.
So you do quite a few shows. You did some shows over the weekend?
Yeah, I ended up coming up to Utah kind of last minute, and because I was going to be here, I called him up and said, hey, I'm going to be here. Is there kind of just hop in on a show somewhere, get some stage time? And because, comedy's an addiction, and you'll do it for almost no reason at all. And he had a room, he opened this smaller room at his club in Salt Lake. His main room was sold out. Had Drew Lynch there this weekend. He had sold out all the shows, but he has the smaller room, seats about 100 people, and he let me go in there, and we sold out 3 shows this weekend doing
Wow.
that. So that was fun.
Very cool.
Nice. I'm curious, how long ago did you start this comedic addiction? How have you been doing comedy all your life?
Oh, absolutely. I was a middle child, so you
Okay.
either had to be funny or set things on fire to get attention.
Okay.
I chose the comedy route. A lot less painful.
Did you start doing
Um,
shows right off the bat? Right out of school or?
Well, yeah, it was funny. Me and my brothers, sisters, and my cousins, we all were pretty close, and there was a bunch of us, and we used to put shows on together for my grandparents and my aunts and uncles and stuff in the backyard at my grandma's house.
Nice.
So we'd do, we'd lip sync and come up with silly skits and stuff. My first uh, bout with entertaining was I lip synced to Crocodile Rock. That was Elton John when I
That's
was
awesome.
I think about 4.
Awesome.
And that's what boy once I got the applause from the audience of 4 people, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do forever. So I've done stuff, acting and different things. I didn't get into stand
Okay.
up until I was about 28. My
Oh,
wife
Okay.
finally got me on stage. She kept bugging me, and she's like, "You need to do this." And I finally did it, and it's like I said, now it's an addiction.
that's awesome.
So studying the philosophy, how did that help you come up with the comedy that you're in now, and where you're taking that and where you're going with it?
Well, they say philosophers are just comedians with bad material.
True.
And so I figure why not be a comedian, why not be a philosopher with a great material? Let's bring the two together, start having some fun with it. So I don't, I don't want to get up there and just start teaching philosophy. So I just sort of sneak it in. I hide it, and
Yeah.
people
Nice.
kind of figure it out after a while.
Yeah. I enjoy the satire and the comedy
I'm
that you
having a
bring.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. I got a couple pictures I want to put up here. Number one, Jesse, going to take us back a little ways and start talking about a little bit about the progression of technology throughout time and where we were and where we're heading and where we're going. As soon as Jesse gets this picture up, but man, this really started many years ago. One of the best ways to get this out there was through radio. And that really was the only avenue, because back in the day it was difficult to tour and do these things. So if you could see the photo there,
Oh yeah.
yeah, back in the day they had the studio set up, and then you had all the different props, and I think that's Alec Baldwin there. He's been around for a while, you know. But yeah, so we kind of started off with this. Did you ever study previously, comedians and so forth, and back in the day, and what they had to deal with in their line of business?
Oh yeah, going back to really the vaudeville days, where the comedian was sort of the guy that would go up there in between the acts and people entertained till the next act was ready. And then as it evolved into its own, as time went on, um, the thing I think was funny about radio was that it made comedians, um, better at voice acting, really, because your voice was the key to the whole thing, and especially radio. So that's why a lot of impressionists and things like that. But having a really great voice was the key to the whole thing. And then as we move on into TV, then all of a sudden you add the visual part to it, and adds a whole new other element to it.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then and time goes on, and it's fun to watch how technology has advanced, and by doing so, it's made comedy even better, I think.
Really.
Because you're able to add more elements to it.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. Number two, a picture I have. Number two, you talk about as we advance in the radio into television. Here's a picture, a photo of an old television studio and how they had that set up. And at the time, we had live audiences during the taping and the filming, as you can see there. Back in the day, I believe this was actually on the set of I Love Lucy, one of their sets that they'd used.
Oh,
Very cool.
Yeah, the big old booms.
yeah, it was the live audiences really make a big difference, especially for comedy.
Yeah,
What's
I could
the,
totally see
That's
that.
why I think a lot of these, when they abandoned the live studio audiences and started going with the laugh tracks,
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like we pretended that things were funny.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Daryl Bogan has a question for you, Norman. He wants to know where do you find the best source for your material?
It's just those silly little things that you experience in life. Mostly tragedy.
Mm.
Really?
It's taking things that are mountains and turning them into molehills, and taking molehills and turning them into mountains. It's comedy is the art of exaggeration. So it's just taking something that's sort of bothers you and then making it into something that is enormously horrific in your view. And it really comes from everywhere. You can sit down and write comedy and say, okay, I'm going to write comedy now, but usually the best stuff just comes to you, as you're driving, or
It's life experiences. Yeah.
Walking through a grocery store, and you see somebody, and all of a sudden just something clicks. So when you're a comic and you're always looking for material, you just see the silliness of life everywhere you go, and it's just honing in on those things and bringing it to life on stage there's nothing like it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's such an art form of storytelling, especially when you try to get that point across and it comes across in a motivated way through the use of comedy. Now, what did you have originally have some influencers that were brought to the table for you in regards to what type of comedy you wanted to get into?
Yeah, I would say early on it was Bob Newhart was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
also enjoyed the Carol Burnett show was a big influence on me as a kid. MASH, um,
Okay.
Alan Alda and just sort of very dry humor. I really was attracted to that. And a lot of British comedy, Monty Python. Um, I loved Red Skelton and
Oh
eventually,
yeah.
George Carlin. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite things when I was a kid was listening to Cheech and Chong records.
Yeah.
That was the best.
Oh
I
yeah.
loved Cheech and Chong when I was a kid.
Yeah.
During the 70s, they were everywhere.
Oh
So
yeah.
Right.
Still can't get away from them. They're still at it today.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So, pardon me. Let's show number 3. Picture number 3 here. When you get into stand up, we start off with stand up and different size audiences. Now, what size audience do you prefer to speak to, to do your show? Is there a limit to how big or excessive it could get?
Well, the more the better, just because I love all the attention. But I've done like this room I did this last weekend, it's only seats 100 and it's a very, kind of intimate feeling. And that is the best, you're just right there and you can really, really connect with an audience when they're that small one. When you're in the big theaters and the arenas, it's hard to really connect um, with individuals, because it's such a huge room, you don't really have that intimacy. So it's more of a just a almost like a one act play, one man play, as it were.
Sure.
But I've done rooms. I did a show for one guy one time. It was a casino in Winnemucca, and we got there, and the guy said, "Hey, if anybody shows up in the next 5 minutes, you got to do a show. If not, I'll just pay you, and you guys can leave." So we were thinking it was pretty easy money. Just
Yeah.
show up, get paid for not doing a show, and hang out in
Right.
Winnemucca. And one guy walked in, and he's like, "We're like, are you serious? We're doing a show for one guy." I said, "Yeah, he's here for a show." So we went and gave a show to one guy. It was pretty fun.
I bet you drew some material from that as well.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. His name was Dale. He was from Reno, and Winnemucca was on his right. He ran a route between Reno and Salt Lake, and on his way back, he would try to schedule it so he was always hitting Winnemucca at the time for the comedy show. But he had missed it for 3 weeks in a row because he got there late, so they kept canceling the show because no one was there to watch it. So he purposely, I think, he sped a little bit to make sure he got there in time so he could see us do a show just for him.
Oh, very nice. Very cool.
Now, what's the opposite of that? Like, what's the largest show you've done?
Oh, gee. I opened for Big Bad Voodoo Daddy one time, an outdoor amphitheater, 5,000 people.
Nice.
That
Wow.
was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I did the seventh inning stretch at a minor league baseball game once. They had to stand up on the dugouts and do jokes. It was horrible. The audience just stared at us like they were, who are these weirdos and what are
What's
they
going
doing?
on?
And I got a free hot dog out of it, so I was happy.
There you go.
And with the way technology has progressed now, especially like if you go to large sporting events, of course, there's the large television screens and they're projecting what's taking place on the field so that the audience who is up in the stadium can actually see. So my understanding is a lot of people I've talked to said that when you're, even in a concert venue, that you play to the people in the front row because with the technology, they can project that to the back of the arena. So do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you really have to think of it. Any performance you do, the best way to think about it is that you're performing for an audience of one, because really you are. You're performing for each individual. And if you're trying to spread your attention all over the place, it can get a little confusing. But if you just think that you're speaking to one person, even if it's just one person in the front who kind of represents the audience, um, it helps. But yeah, I've done theaters. We used to do uh, shows at a movie theater, and we'd set up a camera and we could put your face up on the screen. And that was a lot of fun because comedy is very visual, and being able to see your face and your expressions can really help sell a joke and deliver. So yeah, it's very helpful in that way. Is that it makes it more. It allows you to be more intimate with more people, as it were.
Sure.
It's like when the pandemic came along and we were having to do these Zoom shows all the time because the clubs were shut down. That was one thing is you just even though you would have a couple hundred people on a Zoom call watching you, you had to focus on just one, that you're just talking to one person. Just think you're your best friends on the other line. You're just having a conversation. That was the best way to approach it.
So advances in technology and things like the internet and talking about social media and so forth, that kind of just plays right into that because of the one-way platform, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And again, like I said, it comes down to that connection. It's being able to get that one-on-one connection that you can't really get through other sources.
Sure.
So and being able to do it with more people and more consistently and at almost any point in time. That's it's the crazy thing is that you can be lying in bed and think of something funny you want to share with the world. You don't even have to roll out of bed. You can just either type it
Right?
up on Twitter or whatever, or even make the video and just post it and wake
Sure.
up at 3 in the morning, say something ridiculous and post it and go back to sleep and wake up 4 hours later and see what happened with it.
Yeah. So what type of response do you see from doing these short videos like that?
They're fun. I guess we just love amusing ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to be able to really send a message to somebody where they're sitting on the toilet. So that's what
That's
I
so
love
true
about
though,
it.
right? Can we pull up picture number 3?
Yeah, sorry, I had it up. You guys couldn't see the
Oh, we
preview,
couldn't
but
see it?
let
Okay.
me pull it up
I'm
again
sorry.
here. 1 sec.
We had that photo of Robin Williams up there, who was one of the comedic geniuses that, as of recent. So my question was going to be, take somebody like this who's been in the industry and making people happy, but yet can be so kind of on the dark, depressed side all at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people getting into comedy as really as a form of therapy. Um, and a lot of it is just because a lot of comedy material comes from tragedy, from disappointments in life and frustration, and really talking it through and working on it. So yeah, it's certainly part of the business.
It's a way to cope, and it's a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's another.
Yeah, yeah, and it could be helpful for the comic, but also for people to just realize that you can move on in life. That life is
Mhm.
full of horrible, terrible tragedy and disappointments. But if you linger in the past and you just let those things consume you, they can destroy you. But through laughter, through comedy, you can attack those things and you can take their power away from them. You can laugh at those things and move on. And that's why, people say, "What is there any taboo subjects?" No, not at all.
Everything's on the
Never.
table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make fun of everything because that, like I said, you take away its power for all those horrible things that have happened to you. When you can laugh about it, make fun of it, it allows you to move on.
Sure. Sure. Now, what about again, talking technology, what does that bring to the table as far as technology itself and the comedy is provided by that, the advancements in AI and so forth?
Right.
Oh, just, it allows you more opportunities to be creative. You can explore different things with the technology. I see people who are well, there's one example. There's a comedian. His name is Aaron. He's a mute. He can't speak.
Okay.
He's found a way to use his phone to speak for him. So he's a stand-up
Nice.
comic that can't speak, but he's able to use his phone, and he's very funny, very entertaining young man. And it's because of technology. It's something he couldn't have done, 30, 40 years ago. But because it's available to him now, it's opening up comedy to more people to be able to participate. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and the more that we see this technology grow, I can see comedians like, Carrot Top likes to use a lot of, one word I'm thinking of.
He likes to use a lot of
Props.
Props.
yeah.
There we go. I don't know why that didn't come to my head. Props. So what do you see coming in the future as far as this technology, improves?
Well, you're going to see it. I think they have somebody just released an AI version of George Carlin. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it. I've heard a little
I've
bit about it.
heard about
Yeah.
it going down that road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
What are your thoughts?
in some ways, it's going to, a lot of people think it's going to hurt comedy because now people won't look at new comics because it's like, well, you can just go visit the old ones again. But I think it just, like I said, it just makes new opportunities for creativity. It's just taking the technology and finding fun ways to play with it and twist it and do something amazing with it. So
Sure.
it's I hear people. It's always it goes back to the old buggy whip conversation. When cars were invented, there were it hurt the buggy whip industry because people weren't using buggies anymore and horse-drawn carriages. And so you have to learn that, hey, sometimes you just got to retire the buggy whip and go drive a car.
Sure.
That's the way it is with modern technology. It's if you can stay in the past if you want to, but you're not going to get anywhere. But I think learning, and this is what things comedians are starting to learn and embrace, is that as you embrace the technology, the internet and all these different things, being able to record everywhere and anywhere, and it just opens you up so much that you're not stuck to the old ways of doing things, and you really have to kind of embrace the new to get anywhere with it, because you're going to get left in the dust.
Have you utilized it or integrated it in any way in the work that you do?
Well, like I said, I've been playing around the idea of doing more live, posting it on the internet, doing live on the internet at the show.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem is just finding just having a large enough bandwidth at the location that you're at with the internet. Whether or not it has a good connection is always the problem.
Okay.
Oh, that's good point.
But being
too.
able to have an audience out there in the in the stratosphere, being able to watch you on a live stage in front of a real audience, and even being able to interact. This is one of the things I play with, is that not only could you get heckled by the live audience, but also get heckled by the ones who are sitting on their toilet somewhere in Peoria. So yeah, it's unlimited, really. I said, I think it's just looking at it as an opportunity to just play around and goof off more.
Right. Okay.
Jesse had a question for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because I know that earlier you guys were talking about kind of playing to the front row or playing to that individual person. And from my understanding, because I watch a lot of comedy podcasts, from what I understand, a lot of comics were hit really hard by COVID because they couldn't be out there and see the interactions to people. So they tried to do stuff online and it wasn't quite the same. So I'm wondering, I don't know if you guys have all seen the new Apple Vision VR that's come out, and everybody's wearing these VR headsets now. So when we get to a point where it's a virtual comedy club, like in our thumbnail today, we had a virtual comedy club kind of a setup. Do you think that comics are going to be able to interact with people through that medium, or do you need that live experience like you were mentioning before?
Well, I always think the live experience is best, but like I said, when you have this new technology, it's a different way of communicating, and because of that, it allows yourself to find things that are funny about that. And because it's a different kind of relationship that you have with the audience when they're, right there in your, literally right in your face.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to just how you want to play with it. You can get upset about it and say, "Oh, this is terrible," or you can say, "Hey, this is just fun." Add to it, because you're always going to have the live performance. You're always going to have that, and I think it's always a better experience. But there are people who just can't leave their house, and now there's a chance for them to participate as well, to some degree.
There's a whole
at
new
least.
audience, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Yeah, and it can take you further, around the globe. Actually, this becomes a global audience that you're able to speak to nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Even in translation, you're able to. They have like real-time translation, so you could be speaking to somebody who's not even your language, and they can hear you in their language in real time. That's how advanced AI is becoming. So that even opens you up to an even bigger market.
Hey, Daryl's got another question for us here. I lost the question. Here we go. Are hecklers less restrained on social media since they can't hide behind their screens and keyboards?
Yeah, but you can just ignore them even easier.
Right.
People get really brave when they're anonymous, but then it just makes it easier just to, scroll on by it and move on.
Sure. Do you get a
You
lot?
don't feel like egging them on at all,
You might
Little
find
banter.
one. If you can, you can tell that they're just doing it for fun, and
Right.
you're having a good time. I don't mind. But one thing you find with trolls is they'll say stuff that's not even related to it, or they'll make fun of the way you look, to the point that it's kind of just not. I said I don't get offended by things that are intended to be offensive. I get offended if it's just not funny.
Right.
If you're going to rip into me and make fun of me, make me laugh at least while you're doing it,
Sure. So do you see a lot of heckling when you're at your shows?
No, I hardly get any hecklers at all. They come along occasionally. It's usually just somebody really drunk who's not really even with it all to begin with. But no, I don't really get hecklers that much. A lot of comics encourage it and are trying to get hecklers, but I don't really have a problem with it with my shows at all.
Nice. So who would you say your audience is? Everybody has a different genre of comedy they like. So how would you describe your particular audience?
Well, that's funny because a lot of my audience, when they come to my shows, I would say at least 60-70% of them have never been to a comedy show before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's people outside of the comedy world, outside of your normal comedy audience. That's who's finding me and coming to see the shows, because my videos are a lot of what I put out on the internet is more just kind of a lighthearted, motivational stuff. In fact, my idea behind the character that I play and a lot of the videos is my grandfather was a lush alcoholic, and so he spent most of his time drunk. And he would tell me and my cousin these weird stories all the time, and he was just kind of discombobulated and kind of all over the place sometimes, and it always made me laugh. Um, uh, so as I got older, I started working on a character that was loosely based on him, and I wasn't quite sure where to go with it. And then one day, I'm watching a friend of mine on Instagram who was getting into becoming a life coach. So he was always giving these inspirational messages. But when he was doing so, he's a good-looking guy. He's married to his wife is a beautiful woman, and she's a doctor. Um, and they live in a big, beautiful mansion. He drives a Ferrari. Um, he's got the perfect life, and I. It was weird to me watching these videos because it's like he's sharing an important, really nice message, but nobody was paying attention because people just couldn't relate to how amazing of a life he's living. It's like, people just can't relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's when it struck me. I was like, my grandfather, my drunk grandfather, as the world's worst life coach. So and as a working on the character, it's like, okay, so he's opposite of every life coach you've ever seen. His hair's a mess. He's a straggly beard. He's wearing coveralls. He's standing out in the middle of the woods, or he's next to the road. And there's cars going by. The audio's horrible. Coughing in the middle of the video and doesn't go back and edit anything out. It's like everything that that's wrong is what he does, and that's by doing that, it creates an interesting energy. You kind of it takes you off your guard, because you're more wondering what's wrong with this guy, and then all of a sudden he delivers the message that you needed to hear. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Now,
have a lot of fun with it.
Well, your look resembles several of my relatives.
Yes.
I felt comfortable right away.
so does your
Yes, everybody knows somebody who looks like this.
now, do you always keep your character near you? So are you pretty much always in character, or is there like an on and off switch that you turn for?
He's a big part of me because I'm kind of absent-minded myself anyway. So,
Yeah.
I've it's in a way it's sort of an amplification of who I am, because I'm kind of a little absent-minded and a little too lost in thought most of the time. So yeah, it's a character that's very, very close to me.
Yeah, now I prefer I watch a lot of comedy. So you have comedy that's fast. You have some that's slow paced. You have some that's just kind of takes his time to warm up. I kind of see you in between those stages when I watch you and listen to you and laugh. How have you designed your comedy around that particular pace?
Oh, I think the bit itself, when you're writing the material and you're thinking how to best way to present it, the bit itself really kind of dictates the energy that I'll put into it. Some jokes are slowly delivered one-liners. Others are more of a kind of a shotgun effect, where it's just one thing right after the other, and I don't really settle in on one particular pace. I play around with it, and I'm kind of all over the place with it. So but it is important because of all communication, only about 30% of it is actual words. So there's 70% of the communication that we ignore a lot of times, especially as comics. I tell comics this all the time. If you're so focused on just the words, you're missing more than half of what you should be doing as a comic, because your pacing, your voice inflection, your expressions, your body posture, all of this stuff comes into play. And when you bring it all together, it's a more enriching experience for the audience because it's not just words that you're saying, it's everything else that you're doing, because you're constantly communicating, whether you're saying anything or not. You're constantly communicating with the audience, whether you're nervous or you're uh, kind of lost or confused because you're not sure what to do on your next joke or whatever. You're always sending out a message, and when you're fully aware of that and you're using it to your advantage, it makes it a more enriching experience for the audience. So yeah, I play with the pacing and everything all the time.
Yeah, cool. Now, a couple more questions are coming up for you here. Alicia would like to know, how has the advance in technology changed for stand-up comedy for you as a comedian, and has it made it harder or actually made it easier for you to do your job?
Well, it's in one respect, um, okay, the biggest concern comics have with technology is that our material gets put out there into the world, and it's so hard to really develop good material, and you don't want it out there before you have a chance to really perfect it, you know. So there's that concern, is that your stuff can get viewed by somebody before it's really ready. It's like, you don't, if you're a master baker, um, you want the finished product to be all ready and pretty and everything when you make the presentation. You don't want them coming in when all you've done is throw in eggs and some salt, because then they're going to go, "That's disgusting." You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's just eggs and salt. You know what I mean? So you worry about it being seen too soon. Um, Plus, it also opens you up to having your material stolen by other people more so than any other time, because now somebody could just sit on, YouTube, search videos, find your jokes, and then take them and make them their own, and then start using them. So there's always that concern. But for the most part, I think it's really good because it allows you to find a bigger audience. It allows you to before, to to really make it in the stand-up comedy world, you had to go on Carson.
Yeah.
You had to get on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and once you were on there and you had his blessing, then you had a career. You were a real comic. Well, that sort of thing doesn't really exist so much. Well, there's this Kill Tony thing. I don't know if you've seen that.
Mm-mm.
It's an interesting show because it's really, you only get 1 minute, and whether or not you get on the show is completely by draw. You throw your name in a bucket, and if they pick your name, you go up. You get 1 minute, and if it goes well, it can make your career. If it doesn't go well, it pretty much ends it before it even got started. You know.
Wow.
So where's
So
the
so that sort of thing. But it's I said, it's wide open. It's like the wild west is what the internet has created in comedy.
where's that marker now? Do you think it would fall on like how many followers you have? Like, where's that marker now? With previously it being on the Johnny Carson show, that would be your marker. Where do you think that lies
it's funny
now?
because you can become famous with just your crowd, you know.
Okay, right.
Before, you had to kind of become famous to everybody, but now you could just become famous to a niche. You could just kind of find your people.
Oh yeah.
Because what happens is somebody will go online, they'll create this audience who will come and watch them anywhere, and then a lot of them are starting to get into doing stand-up, going to comedy clubs, even though a lot of them aren't even comics when they start off. They're just making silly videos, and all of a sudden people want to go see them. So they'll contact a comedy club and go there on an off night, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, just so they have a place that they could go and their people could come and see them, and they put on a little show. And so you have people who are literally unknown by anybody else, but they have a very loyal fan base that will show up and come to a show at a comedy club on a Tuesday night, 300 people will show up and to watch this person. So
Interesting.
it's sort of weird. It's like we've created micro celebrities.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
So a few more questions coming through here. What about the COVID boost during that time? Did that do anything for you? How did you handle that, and where did it go?
Well, COVID was fantastic for me. I loved it. Well, what happened for me was I had a lot of work as a comic booked out, and once COVID came along, it shut everything down. And so, like everybody else, I'm stuck at home. What am I going to do? So, well, I need my fix. I need my attention from strangers. So there's the internet. So I just started making silly videos and just posting them. And one of them just happened to go viral and blew up. The next thing I know, I have, thousands of people coming and finding out who I am and looking at my videos and reading my posts and becoming interested in everything I'm doing. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, Daryl's got another
So
question.
for me, it worked out pretty good. I got no complaints about it.
Very cool. Daryl's got another question. When we were talking about the speed of comedy earlier, he says, watching George Carlin fire off a long list of annoyances at a speed that's almost hard to keep up with. Do you think he was actually doing impromptu or reading off a script?
Oh, no, he was very memorized. He wrote all the time, constantly. He was a very prolific writer, and he had his material down. He was a master of the craft of comedy. Yeah. There was probably an element of some improv, but no, he was the type who worked meticulously on just having everything just right.
So is technology helping that more? Like you keep saying, it brings these new nuances to us. Is technology helping that more, or are you seeing more creativity coming through impromptu?
It's a combination. It really depends on the comic and how they're approaching it. Because one thing is now you have to create more. Carlin was an oddity in that he would create a new stand-up special like every year. Which was unheard of back then. I mean, it was amazing that he would pull that up. It would usually take comics 2 or 3 years to develop enough material to create a full hour of what they were ready to present. Well, now everything's going so fast that there's comics who are putting out new specials like every 6 months.
Yeah, something.
That's a lot of life experiences.
I've got a few more pictures, and I just want to go through these really quick. We pull up picture number 6. So I got some pictures of some comedians here, and I just want to know really quickly your quick influences or how they come to teach you in the comedy world.
Yes, Rodney Dangerfield is brilliant at just creating a joke for the joke itself. That it wasn't about him, it wasn't about anything. It was just a purely ridiculously silly joke. Even though he would make himself the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
I mean, just the joke itself stood on its own. Anybody could say this, and it's funny. So he was. Plus, he was just a brilliant performer. I mean, his performance was everything. He had some really horrible jokes that just, if you read them, weren't that funny. But the way he presented it, and he was just a brilliant performer all the way around.
Yeah, he had a great delivery for sure. Yeah. Number 6. Yes. See if you recognize this guy.
This
number
is
7.
Yep.
Number 7.
Oh, here we go. Norm, yes. One of the best ever. I got to work with Norm.
Did you?
I opened for him at the club in Salt Lake. I worked with him a couple times. There was the last time in particular, I was the MC. Now, when you MC his shows, something you have to know is that before he would come up, before you'd bring him on stage, he always went to the bathroom. And so your job was to entertain the audience until he came out of the bathroom. And as I was headed up on stage, he grabbed my arm. He says, "Hey, I got to go use the bathroom. I don't know if it's going to be a 1 or a 2." So, dude, this is just so I have no idea. I don't know if he's got bowel issues or what's going. I have no idea how long I'm going to be up there.
Yeah.
And the audience is expecting him to be on stage anytime now, so they're kind of chomping at the bit. So I go up there, and I did my bit. I have this bit about being at a Walmart, and I'm about halfway through the bit, and I look at the back of the room, and I see him standing there back by the club owner, Keith Stubbs. And so I'm like, okay, so he's out of the bathroom. That's a good thing. So I can just bring him up once this bit is over. So I finished my joke, get some laughs, and I said, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, band you came here to see, give a big Salt Lake City warm welcome to Norm McDonald." Place goes crazy. They're giving him a standing ovation on the way to the stage. I mean, the place is going crazy for him. And he's just moseying on up there. He's not in any kind of hurry, of course. Well, as he gets to the stage, I'm trying to get, you're supposed to stay on the stage until the act gets on stage, and then you shake hands or whatever, and then you leave. So you never leave the stage empty is the goal. So I'm standing there waiting for him to get up there. He finally gets up there, and he grabs my arm, because I'm just thinking we're shaking hands and I'm taking off. And he grabs my arm and holds me there, right? And he looks at me and goes, "Hey, that Walmart joke was a little hacky, but then you pulled it around. It was very funny. I didn't see that coming. Great joke, very funny."
Oh, how cool.
And he sort of stunned me for a second. I was like, "Did Norm McDonald just, I made him laugh." So, but that's telling of how gracious of a human being he was, because it wasn't a big deal to him to, he could have just shook my hand and I went away and nothing. But he decided in that moment, he stopped and he created a great moment for me to remember.
That's cool. Yeah.
Right there in front of all these people, he's telling me, "You're funny. That was a great
That
joke."
recognition, for
And
sure.
that was everything to me. So he just a beautiful human being, brilliant writer, amazing comedian, and the world is less of a place without him.
Agreed. Number 10, Jesse. This is someone you mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah.
Red Skelton. Carol Burnett. Yes.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah, I grew up watching her show. She's just so funny, so brilliant. And the people that Tim Conway was my absolute hero when I was a kid. But yeah, the Carol Burnett show, and she opened up the world of comedy to so many people. She really put in the thing that, yes, women are funny. She,
Yeah.
She led
Phyllis
the way.
Diller. I met Phyllis Diller. She was amazing. So yeah, I love Carol Burnett. Absolute icon of comedy. Absolutely.
Number 12 we have next year. See if you can recognize this female.
You got more?
I do. A few more coming here.
Joan Rivers?
Joan Rivers. Yeah.
Yes, Joan. Again, another just brilliantly funny woman. I wish I would have gotten to work with her at some point in time, but yeah, just a great joke writer. Absolute, just how to say this. Let's just say she had some balls.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. She was willing to go after everybody and everything. Absolutely.
She did. Number 14, Jesse.
Yes. Billy Crystal. When him and Robin Williams got together, that was just pure magic. And a lot of the characters he created, I think Billy Crystal was sort of part of the salvation of Saturday Night Live at one point.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He really, they were struggling. Him being on that show really helped it kind of come into its own at that when he got on there.
Yeah, I think I had a picture of Gene Wilder, but I didn't put it on here. But Gene Wilder was another comedic genius that just he wowed me as a child. Yeah. Really quick.
Willie he had the ability to make you laugh, make you feel like you were warm and welcome, and scare you to death all at the same time.
That's so very true. Wow. Yeah. Number 8. Now, I don't know that he did too much stand-up, but his comedic performance throughout television, movies, throughout the years and ages, people just enjoyed.
Bill Murray, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I love Bill Murray. Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema is him. What was the name of the? Oh, but he's a campground. Uh, was it counselor?
I'm trying to think of the movie.
I
trying to
am
remember the name.
too.
I know it's right on my top of my head, but I'm an old person, so I keep forgetting. But anyways, the camp
It's two of
counselor,
us.
and the
Yeah.
camp is for all the poor kids, and they're competing against the rich kids, and yeah, going into he's kind of giving the night before motivational speech, and and he just goes on saying it doesn't matter if we win or not. They've got more money. They got all the trainers and everything. They're better than we are. They have everything more than we've ever had. But we're going to go compete with them, and we're going to lose probably horribly, but we're going to have fun because none of this matters. Who cares? No one's going to remember this anyway. Just go out there and just live your life and have fun. And when I was a kid, seeing that speech, it changed my life in a lot of ways because it was like, yeah, most of this doesn't matter. Why get worked up about all this stuff? So I love Bill Murray. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, and still today he's still making audiences laugh out there. Jesse, pull up number 16.
So quite a character of a human being.
This I know I sent an email you on, but I'm a big fan of yours. My wife is too, and I was just going to show you. We do have your autograph up on our autograph wall next to Liam Neeson, along with William Peterson there.
Oh, awesome!
Just to say thank you.
That is truly an honor.
Yeah,
it's truly an honor.
So, do you have just a few moments to give us a little bit of your act, of your character?
Okay. Well, hello, welcome to this podcast. Many people ask me, "Hey, how do you be happy when everything's horrible?" But you just got to remember that everything is horrible and awesome all at the same time. And the only reason you think it's horrible is because you think it's horrible. But if you stop thinking of it as being horrible, then it's not horrible, and you realize it's just sort of a nice little plot twist. You go to a movie, and if everything's perfect, the whole movie, you're bored. You're just like, what is going on here? Somebody's got writer's block. What is going on? This is ridiculous. You want some adventure. You want some excitement. But then when your life gets some adventure and excitement, you get all panicky, like, oh no, it's terrible. Oh, we got a flat tire, maybe late to work. Oh. But then you just realize it's just an adventure. It's like, hey, it's okay. So you're late to work, and if they fire you, well, if they're willing to fire you because you got a flat tire, you probably don't want to work there anyway. You find somewhere else to work. Now you go do something you really want to do. Most of the tragedy we get all worked up about, just nonsense. Just enjoy our life and have a good time. I'm pretty sure at the end of it all, God sounds like he's a pretty good person. It'll probably be easy on you. Okay. Have a super freaking awesome day and stuff.
That's awesome.
I love it, Rodney. It's a pleasure having you on today. So, what do you see coming up in the future for you?
Well, more comedy, more working on a couple of movie scripts. I've been approached by several people who want to make a movie
Okay.
with my character, and just trying to come up with a good script. Also writing a book about, well, how to be happy when everything is horrible, and looking to get into, maybe doing a TEDx talk or something like that. So mostly just making more videos, having fun, and doing comedy on the road. That's my life.
Yeah, how
Keep doing
fun
it.
just enlightening people and making them laugh and doing so. That is so cool.
Very.
So, like us doing the podcast, and you're into the social media as well. What have you found to be useful and helpful in regards to being able to promote yourself?
It really just comes down to just being consistent and don't chase the algorithm. If you're always worried about trying to get your numbers up or whatever, you lose sight of what you do. And just find what it is that you do, find clear on your message, and just keep being you. And that's it. Just be true to you, have fun, and just let the chips fall where they may.
So, who's your favorite comedian of all time?
Favorite comedian of all time, I would have to say, oh, this is
Tough
a
one.
tough one. Um, Probably my favorite to watch and that I go to all the time, go back and watch a lot, is Robin Williams.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed Ron Williams. I love his stuff, but that one movie everybody loves and I dislike it, Missed Outfire. I don't know what it is. That movie did not do it for me.
No?
No, and I
Yeah.
liked Ron Williams.
Well, it was a different side of him, obviously, but,
Yeah.
it was a different type of comedy.
Yeah, and he was so versatile between doing comedy and then stretching it into drama.
Right.
What dreams may come. That's a
yeah.
movie that my wife and I both enjoy because you get a little different essence of him and his role and where he goes with it.
Yeah.
I like his stand-up. I was a fan of just the raw,
Oh, I could only imagine the parties back in the day, like he was talking about earlier, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Whoopi Goldberg.
yeah.
John Belushi, I think, was part of that crowd back in the day.
Oh, yeah, to be backstage with that group.
I know.
Absolutely.
Well, that's just about it for us today.
Okay.
Rodney, special thank you for joining us. We really appreciate
Yes.
this.
Thank you.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
One last thought. You have a moment here just to speak to up and coming comedians and people out there, whether they're a comedian or someone just starting out in life. What would be your best advice to give them?
Find your way. When you get into comedy, there's lots of things books you can read, and there's classes you can take about comedy, but really the journey is finding what's funny about you and how you see the world.
Authentic.
And I think this is it plays out to everything, is just find your voice. You don't need to be a copy of something. Sure, you're going to have influences, but what it comes down to is it's who are you? What are you bringing to the table? That's what's important, because to make it in this world, you either have to be really good at what everybody else is doing, or you have to be exceptional at what no one else is doing. And to become a legend, to really make a difference, that's where you blaze trails, is when you do what nobody else is doing it in ways that no one else has thought. When you see the things that others can't see, and having the bravery to just get out there and express that, and enjoy it, make mistakes, fail miserably, and enjoy every minute of it.
Well, thank you once again, everyone. And Rodney, again, special thanks. Hey, have a great week out there. Make people laugh.
Thank you.
And
Will do. I'm not good at anything else, so.
real quick too, when we'll cut to our outro, Rodney, if you just want to hang out on the Zoom call, we'll wrap up with you here after we close.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you to everyone watching today. Like, share, and subscribe. Join us every Monday at 10 a.m. And soon we will be probably moving this to a Thursday timestamp at, I believe, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that is up and coming a few weeks out.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.